It's a new month, and it's Lane Myers' sentencing day. We have his last-minute motions to block victim statements from impacting his sentence. Will there be more drama before his sentencing hearing today? Chili DeCastro emerges from his social media slumber to amend his complaint in his lawsuit against 2 Las Vegas area judges. How did he mangle the facts in the case this time to prove that he should be awarded millions? Plus, it's the start of a new month. Who emerged victorious in the crowdsourcing race? Me am your humble news readery pants. Me want to smash for making me read horrible, mean, stupid crowdsourced totals. Me am smash you to the way of auditing insanity. Rawr. On Saturday, the ReallyCoolSite.org and the ReallyCoolNews YouTube channel released the transcripts of Lane Myers' June 9th, 2025 plea change hearing as part of the website's ongoing coverage of Myers' upcoming sentencing after agreeing to plead guilty to harassment and stalking charges as part of the plea deal set at that hearing. Most followers of the jailed YouTuber's current incarceration, including all of the news organizations covering Myers, missed the hearing, as it was not scheduled on the Pima County, Arizona Superior Court site for the 9th until late in the day. As the Pima County Superior Court site provides audio of live events, but no ability to play back the live events once they have completed, no recordings of the June 9th hearing have been found by those who normally record Myers' hearings. Pima County also did not offer an audio recording of the hearing, as a court reporter was on hand to transcribe the hearing. ReallyCoolNews ordered a copy of the transcript directly from the court reporter and was able to offset the costs from the purchase through donations from its subscribers. The hearing started with Judge D. Douglas Metcalf confirming that Myers, who is representing himself, was there, along with advisory counsel Mark the Shark Resnick, prosecutor Rachel Stiles, along with the victim of Myers' crimes. Myers was asked a series of questions by Metcalf and indicated that he was taking the plea deal without pressure from anyone and that he fully understood the terms and conditions of the agreement. Metcalf reminded Myers that under the probation guidelines, he could hold Myers in the Pima County Adult Correctional Facility for up to a year as part of probation instead of sentencing him to jail, and that sentencing from the 2 charges could be done concurrently or consecutively. The judge explained that Myers' stalking charge carries a presumptive sentence of a year and a half in prison, maximum of 2 years, aggravated 2.5 years, and a minimum sentence of 3/4 of a year, with the mitigate sentence 1/2 year. For the harassment charge, Myers would face a presumptive sentence of 1 year, maximum sentence of a year and a half, aggravated sentence of 2 years, minimum sentence of a 1/2 year, and mitigated sentence of 1/3 of a year. If Myers were sentenced to prison, according to Judge Metcalf, he'd be subject to completing 85% of his sentence before being eligible for release. Myers would also give up his right to a trial on the charges, along with his ability to appeal the charges if he accepted the plea deal. The jailed YouTuber then pled guilty to both charges. Prosecutor Rachel Stiles gave a rundown of the events leading to Myers' sentencing. This was unusual, as the defendant usually is responsible for recounting these events. Both the court and the prosecution agreed to this change, as Myers had difficulty expressing his version of the facts, leading to his arrests at previous hearings. The victim of Myers' crimes then gave an impassioned statement going over the events that led to charges against Myers. She expressed concern that Myers continues to distort facts about the case and has been using the hearings to direct his followers to continue to threaten and harass her. She continued, expressing concern that Myers was doing the interviews in which he called her the alleged victim during interviews from the Pima County Adult Correctional Facility, and that these interviews, quote, extend the same pattern of behavior, using others to echo his attacks, his lies, and his efforts to discredit and intimidate me. Those calls also reflect a willful disregard for this court's expectations, unquote. The victim of Myers' crimes concluded by asking for the maximum punishment for Myers and the strictest conditions of probation, as she stated that Myers has shown again and again that he is incapable of changing his behavior on his own. Judge Metcalf then went over the special injunction included in the plea deal, which would ban Myers from having contact with the victim of his crimes during his natural life. Myers agreed to this limitation. Sentencing was set for July 1st, 2025. Advisory attorney Mark the Shark Resnick then brought up possible release conditions, assuring Judge Metcalf that Myers had secure housing and could monetize his YouTube channel as employment. He reminded the judge that the plea had both charges against Myers as probation eligible, and assured everyone that not only would Myers take down the videos that he made to harass the victim of his crimes, but he would also never contact or mention her again. Then Resnick began to make a motion to have Myers released for the period between accepting the plea deal and his sentencing. Judge Metcalf explained that releasing Myers would be difficult, as no one was prepared to do that, and the probation was not in place to monitor Myers' actions and prevent further incidents. Resnick assured the judge that Myers was not a flight risk and would comply with the court's orders. Skeptical, the judge asked about the March 14th incident, where Myers was released on bond from the first set of charges in this case, only to ignore all the limitations imposed by his release and immediately picked up more charges. Myers interjected that his release conditions weren't official when he was released after that incident, and he didn't take the videos down because Prosecutor Stiles didn't give him a list which videos needed to be removed. He then assured the judge that he'd take all 7 videos about the victim of his crimes down this time. He then told the judge that he needed to get to work and that he could go to work repairing air conditioners, as it was a peak season for that work. Myers said that his wife was struggling financially without him, and he had a $2,000 a month mortgage to pay and needed his help. Myers then attacked the earlier statement made by the victim of his crimes, quote, And, as much as, the victim, I don't know if I can say her name without getting, I don't know. And that's really not clear because you did tell me I could do interviews, but, I don't want to sit here and pick apart everything she said. She made her speech. I could easily prove that a lot of what she said isn't true. Some of what she said isn't true. It's just completely false. I know it sounded bad. Prosecutor Stiles replied to Myers's and Resnick's plea by reminding the court that Myers had a strict set of rules to follow the last time he was released and immediately ignored them. He could have complied with the previous orders to take down the videos attacking the victim of his crimes, and he refused to do so, then made more videos about her. The victim of Myers's crimes was allowed to speak again and repeated that Myers previously had conditions imposed on him without monitoring, and he immediately attacked her. She said that he would continue to sell T-shirts using images of her family to attack her, and would simply make a new YouTube channel under a false name to continue those attacks. She concluded by stating that she felt unsafe and that she, her husband, and her children would be at risk if Myers was released without supervision. Myers responded by whining that he would be sent to prison immediately. When the judge refused, Myers went into a long rant that he still didn't understand the state's position that the videos in question could remain up while he was in jail. He again questioned what harm they caused to the victim of his crimes if the state was fine with them being up while he was incarcerated. He said he made no money off the T-shirt sales or his YouTube channel and needed to go back to his business immediately. Judge Metcalf eventually denied the motion for release before sentencing on the grounds that there were no safeguards in place to properly monitor Myers. Myers then brought up interviews with press outlets while he was incarcerated. He again assured the judge that he had not violated conditions he agreed to. Stiles reminded the judge that while initially Myers had complied with the conditions, he had recently began to find ways around the no live streaming rule by pre-recording interviews with his associates to air as live streams. An extended discussion began with Myers complaining that he could not say the name of the victim of his crimes as a release condition. He complained that everyone else could say her name without punishment, and that it was unfair to impose one set of standards on him when others were free to harass the victim of his crimes. Judge Metcalf kept in place the limitation on live streaming and tabled the official ruling on Myers' use of the name of the victim of his crimes until the sentencing hearing. Myers' sentencing is set for July 1st at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Really Cool News will be providing a live retransmission of the audio feed from the Pima County Superior Court website during the hearing. A live reenactment of the hearing from this article is set to air on the Really Cool News YouTube channel at 8 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, June 29th. Really Cool News was able to provide a full transcript of this hearing due to the contributions from followers of its website and YouTube channel. If you'd like to donate to help us continue to provide content like this, please consider contributing via the donation links provided in the description of each video or on the donation page linked from each article. The continuing saga of Lane Myers rolled back into focus on Saturday as Mark the Reluctant Prophet Kelly released a new audio interview with Myers from the Pima County Adult Correctional Facility, in which Myers questioned the need for a victim impact statement to play a role in determining his potential punishment from taking a plea deal. In the 15-minute interview, Myers again threw doubt on his acceptance of the plea deal, as he called the victim of the crimes he is pleading guilty to, quote, the alleged victim, unquote, and cast doubt on his actual acceptance of his guilt of the crimes of felony stalking and harassment. Myers started the call by telling Kelly that he received notice from his advisory attorney, Mark Resnick, that prosecutor Rachel Stiles filed a 40-page victim impact report with 10 pages written as a statement from the victim of his crimes. The jailed YouTuber seemed furious as he claimed that the victim of his crimes included demands in her letter that included a lifetime no-contact order between Myers and Kelly, the forced deletion of his YouTube channel, and all of the revenue from his Give, Send, Go account being redirected to his victim, or alternatively, the ACLU. As of Sunday, Myers' Give, Send, Go campaign stood at a total of $8,897 collected over the past year, with $62.48 donated this year and $12.96 donated for June. No donations were noted for Sunday, with the entire crowdsourcing market putting up goose eggs for the second straight day, as no donations were recorded for any of the campaigns we follow. Myers also claimed that his victim's husband wrote a letter to the court, allegedly along with all of the judges from the Pima County City Court writing anonymous letters, with the exception of Judge Kevin Franklin, as they all allegedly said that they lived in fear of Lane Myers and repercussions of their speaking out against him. Kelly led Myers in a discussion of how the victim impact statements and letters of support of his victim were all written by government employees, except the letter from his victim's mother. He also claimed that prosecutor Rachel Stiles was playing dirty by filing the victim impact statement at the last moment so he wouldn't have an opportunity to respond to it. Myers apparently immediately filed a new motion with the court to strike any sentencing recommendations from his victim or those that wrote letters as part of the victim impact report. The mountain biking enthusiast wrote, "Victim impact statements are not and never were meant to be a place for the victims to make either sentencing recommendations or to recommend probation conditions. Victim impact statements can include information about the victim's personal characteristics and the impact of crime on the victim's family. However, these statements may not include opinions or recommendations about the appropriate sentence. See State versus Montoya, State versus Rose. Further, the court must screen the impact statement for potential unfair prejudice, ensuring the fair administration of justice. See Montoya. In the instant case, the victim devotes a great deal of her letter to the legally forbidden practice of providing a sentencing recommendation. Defendant hereby requests that the court strike those recommendations and make no findings based thereon. The defendant believes it to be very height of hypocrisy that is being sentenced for having run afoul of Arizona statutes for attempting to expose the failure of state actors to follow statutes, and that they then violate additional statutes and case law in the service of his punishment. These recommendations must be given no quarter." Myers also challenged the constitutionality of probation conditions made as suggestions by the victim of his crimes. In this passage, Myers refers to calling the victim the alleged victim and does not specify what exactly the victim of his crimes suggested in her letter to the court that he was upset about, other than any action that would limit his First Amendment rights during his probation. Strangely, letters of support for Myers were also released by the court at the same time as his motion to essentially quash the victim impact statement. Contrary to claims by Myers that they include over 200 letters of support for him, only a handful of letters from his family members, girlfriend, and die-hard supporters were in the PDF file. Of the included letters, nearly every letter included suggestions for the court not to impose conditions on Myers during his probation, and to give him probation instead of actual jail time. Myers did not include the suggestion to limit these letters in his motion to quash the victim impact letters in regards to his sentencing. Myers is scheduled to be sentenced for 2 felony crimes on Tuesday. We will provide full audio coverage along with a debrief with our local reporters later that night. Jose Chili de Castro returned from a self-imposed week-long exile with a new court filing in his lawsuit against nearly everyone involved in his 2024 conviction and later acquittal of interference and obstruction charges in Las Vegas. The charges, originally filed in 2023, stem from an incident where De Castro approached an active traffic stop at a strip mall in Las Vegas and attempted to interview the driver who had been pulled over. A Las Vegas Metro police officer asked him to step away from the vehicle. De Castro took a small step back, and when De Castro was again asked to step away from the vehicle, he refused to do so. A scuffle broke out, backup was summoned, and ultimately, De Castro was charged with obstruction of an officer and interference in a traffic stop. De Castro later sued all of the officers involved in the arrest, claiming that his rights were violated, false arrest, and that he was injured by the officers during the arrest. He was convicted of the crimes in March of 2024 and served a small amount of time in jail before having the conviction thrown out in July of 2024. The acquittal of the charges impacted De Castro's civil case against the LVMPD officers, as the appeals court's ruling conflicted with previous rulings by Judge Andrew P. Gordon, who is presiding over the federal civil rights lawsuit. Gordon revisited some of his rulings in the case in September of last year, including his previous ruling that the arresting officer had probable cause to arrest De Castro. In his decision, he threw out a number of charges by De Castro, while leaving in place some of De Castro's claims. At no time did Gordon make a final judgment on De Castro's claims, nor did he find anyone had perjured themselves in his rulings. The case is currently set to go to trial in early 2026. De Castro had also sued nearly everyone involved in his conviction and acquittal of the charges. In his initial complaint, he was seeking between $40 and $60 million in damages for First Amendment retaliation, unlawful search, due process violations, denial of a public trial, equal protection claims, and claims that Clark County, Nevada improperly trained their police officers. In the revised complaint, De Castro no longer makes a specific case for millions in damages. Instead, he says that he will leave the compensatory damages in amounts to be proven at trial, and wants unspecified enhanced punitive damages against individual defendants. De Castro also rearranges his charges to include First Amendment retaliation, prosecutorial vindictiveness, Fourth Amendment violations, substantive due process violations, Sixth Amendment violations, equal protection violations, Brady violations, and improper training. Among his new claims are the allegations of Brady violations for the arresting officer and the prosecutor in the case. DeCastro states that the arresting officer perjured himself at trial by stating that DeCastro did not back up when asked to do so, when, in fact, the video showed DeCastro taking a small step back. The same video shows DeCastro refusing to step back further when ordered to do so by the arresting officer. DeCastro then added the prosecutor in the case to the Brady violation, as she did not correct the officer after he perjured himself on the stand. DeCastro now states that Judge Gordon, in his federal civil rights lawsuit, also found that the arresting officer perjured himself in that lawsuit, which is justification for inclusion in the state-level lawsuit. The amended complaint attempts to tie together a grand conspiracy by the police, prosecutor, and court system to deny DeCastro his rights, to falsely imprison him, and to retaliate against him. It also now includes his February 14th, 2024 arrest for walking through a crime scene and confronting police as evidence in the conspiracy against him. Besides damage to his business and personal reputation, in the new filing, DeCastro is claiming irreversible harm due to spending 4 months in jail, missing the funeral of a cousin, and his mother having to visit him in jail while he wore an orange jumpsuit. DeCastro has yet to serve the parties in the case. This is a breaking news item. Tuesday's crowdsourcing win went to Sean Paul, Long Island Audits Reyes, with a $10 take and an end the crowdsourcing market's 3-day slide into goose egg territory. His win propelling him to first place and a market lead for first day of the month after losing June's crown to Lane Myers' Give Send Go campaign by a significant margin. Myers took first place for June by bringing in a take of $1,296 in new donations to his campaign to help with legal fees involved in fighting ongoing charges of stalking and harassment in Pima County, Arizona. With Myers set to be sentenced today in a plea deal for 2 of the 20 charges he faces, it is unclear if supporters will continue to contribute to the campaign, as he also gives up his right to appeal the charges with the guilty plea. Our coverage of Myers' sentencing hearing starts today on our Really Cool News YouTube channel at 5 p.m. Eastern, followed by a detailed discussion of the events at 8 p.m. Eastern, and a full write-up in tomorrow's issue of this publication. Coming in second for the month is our own ongoing expenses campaign with a $370 take. This is down significantly from previous months and marks the end to our twice-a-year fundraising campaign for major expenses. Next up comes Reyes's generic Support the Fight Against Tyranny and Corruption campaign, which took in $115 for the month. Fourth place went to Jose Chili DeCastro's Time to Sue the Unprincipled Judge Ann Zimmerman campaign, which took in $60 for June. Fifth place went to Clash with Bow's Help Bow Secure Legal Representation campaign with a $60 take. Craig Hendry's personal To Support Craig's Work campaign was up next with a $20 take. Christopher Direct D. Ruff's Help Christopher Ruff Direct D Clear His Name Fund took in $5 for June. Rounding out the month came another DeCastro-run effort. This time his Craig's Freedom Depends on Your Help Fund which took in $5. June's addition to yearly takes saw a minor shuffling of the top 10 for the year, with the top slots remaining unchanged. BZ Watchdog's Hold Police Accountable Fund fell to 10th place, with $115 out of a $2,500 goal and a $215 total take. Liberty Trolls Support Our Fight for Our Constitutional Rights campaign has taken in $205 for the year out of a $30,000 goal and a current overall total of $4,130. Jose de Castro's Craig's Freedom Depends on Your Help fund has brought in $285 overall out of a $15,000 goal. The discontinued Help Shannon Attend Kaiser's sentencing campaign remains at $350 taken in out of a $1,000 goal and 7th place. De Castro's Time to Sue the Corrupt, Unprincipled, and Zimmerman slides into 6th place with a $1,580 overall take out of a $5,000 goal. Craig Hendry's To Support Craig's Work falls to 5th place with a $1,949 take for the year out of a total take of $7,230 and a $4,000 goal. Sean Paul Long Island Audit Reyes finds himself in 4th place for the year with a $2,381 take, an ongoing total of $54,664, and a goal of $55,000. Our own ongoing expenses fund is in 3rd position with a $4,955 take for the year, an overall total of $11,100, and a goal of $20,000. Lane Myers' Give, Send, Go continues to crawl its way to the top of the listings with a $6,248 take for the year, an overall total of $8,897, and an overall goal of $30,000. Finally, Clash with Bow takes the top spot with a $6,780 overall take for the year out of a $6,500 goal. June saw significant declines for 2 of the top 3 funds that we follow, and we will revisit these findings in our mid-month update. Oh, joy. We need your help. Both ReallyCoolSite.org's daily newspaper and our daily newscasts are funded by your continuing donations and what we make from our YouTube AdSense revenue each month. If you'd like to contribute to help us keep the lights on, eating, feeding the cats, defending ourselves from lawsuit threats, and writing news stories to feature on both the newspaper and newscast each day, you can do so via a donation to our PayPal, Cash App, or GoFundMe accounts. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch our videos from beginning to end, like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in.